And we're sitting down at this round table just like this, and they looked at me and they said, Jessica, Houston's been shot. And at that point, you just kind of freeze, and the first thing I asked them, is he alive?
I do not know you, but I am your brother.
You do not know me, but I am your protector.
I will run into a burning building to save your life.
Though I do not know your name, I will take a bullet for you.
Though we've never met,
I believe in duty and
sacrifice of self.
Your family is my family.
Is my family. Your life is my duty.
What's going on, guys? Time for another episode of Behind the Uniforms. If you've never seen the show before, the way that it works is that we invite emergency responders, veterans, significant others on. They tell you about a good day, about a bad day, about some situations that have happened to them. At any given time, we keep an empty glass and a bottle of whiskey here in honor and tribute to the men and women who've made the ultimate sacrifice and will never be able to join us to tell their stories. I've got a very special guest here, up from Texas. You want to tell everybody who you are?
Yeah, I'm Jessica Gass, wife of Houston Gass, and yeah, just here with Kyle.
So, if you haven't seen Houston's episode, pause right now, go back and check it out. Houston was almost killed in the line of duty. He took a shotgun blast to the face, was rushed to the hospital, opened his eyes after. There you were. Mm-hmm. Tell me about what happened. Tell me about the story from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like he had said earlier, he went in to work earlier that day, which was very normal. Sometimes we were able to meet for lunch because he worked evenings. So, but you know, he went in early and he called me at work, or texted me, I think, and said, you know, I'm going in early. And I said, okay, I'll just be, you know, praying for you. I actually told him I was praying for him. I loved him. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting at work. I'm the receptionist at that point at this job. And we have big windows in front. And we're kind of out in the county. So not city police normally wouldn't respond to any calls at that where my office was. But I see two city police vehicles pull up in front, and I was pretty confused. And this is probably about 11:30, 11:45 in the morning, and I was just kind of like, I wonder why they're here. You know, why would they be here? But they called in, and they came in, and I just said, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And you know, what's going on? But they had very serious looks on their face, and I'll never forget their looks. And they said, "Can we talk to you?" I said, "To me?" And I said, "Yeah, to you. We need to talk to you." And I said, "Sure." Like, but in private. And at that point, my supervisor comes out of his office and he says, I guess he had already heard about it, and he says, "Y'all can use my office." Like, okay. So we go into the office, and we're sitting down at this round table just like this. And they looked at me and they said, Jessica, Houston's been shot. And at that point, you just kind of freeze, and the first thing I asked them, is he alive? He's alive, they said, but I'm like, well, where was he shot? He was shot in the face with a shotgun. I'm like, and he's alive? I'm like, yeah. Okay, and then there wasn't much said. I was just kind of in shock, and they said, well, what do you need from us? I said, to get me to him. I said, just get me to him. And they're like, well, what about your kids? I'm like, oh yeah, my kids. We'll take care of it. Well, you know, they helped get the kids straightened out too, and kept them in school, and just trying to keep that calm part of it calm for us for now. And but I remember some of his coworkers, you know, the ones that came to tell me what happened, they drove me to Amarillo to meet the helicopter there, so I could see him. And of course, by the time we got there, we got there, he was already there, and Houston's mom had also joined us at the hospital. She drove up there and met us, and they brought us into a room where they had just finally they had to redo his trach a little bit from when the helicopter people did it. They had to redo something, but they said, you know, you can go in and see him. We're about to fly him to Lubbock because we need a better trauma center. And I said, okay. And so they took us in there, and of course he was out at that time, but it was pretty hard seeing him there and not knowing if I was going to see him alive again or ever talk to him again or anything like that. And I remember kissing his forehead, and we were all crying. And the nurse told me, she said, you can talk to him. The last thing to go is their hearing. And I remember thinking, that was not a good thing to say to me, but I just kept talking to him and saying I loved him and just hang on. And so then they flew him to Lubbock, and then they drove us to Lubbock too to meet there. And it took a while before we could see him after that too. But the doctors kept saying, we really don't know his survival chance, his rate of, we don't know if he's going to be able to survive this or not yet. We haven't been able to see how bad or if his airway is damaged from all this too, So we just don't know, but, he's still alive. He's stable. He's critical but stable. So we just waited and waited, and finally they let us go in and see him, and they woke him up. And he kind of tells the story from there, but...
What did he mouth to you?
I'm sorry. He was crying, and he looked up, he looked at me, and he said, he's crying. I said, I'm sorry. I said, it's not your fault. I was like, it's not your fault. And of course he couldn't talk, so there's not much of a conversation going on, but it was just a very hopeless feeling, honestly, because at that point, when I first saw him in Amarillo, they had the bandage completely covering his face, so I couldn't see anything. When I went into there, and when he was in Lubbock, they had the bandage off, and I went in. And I was thinking, there's no way to fix this. There's no way to fix that. How could they fix that? His jaw was hanging off of his face. So I was more just in complete shock and just, he doesn't even know what he looks like at this point, and here I am seeing it, and so, but yeah, that's really all I could say. He was very anxious, and he's really ready to see his pastor.
How did it go over when your kids saw him?
So they saw him the Saturday after everything happened. He got shot on a Tuesday, so we finally were able to bring the kids in that Saturday. The grandparents brought him in to see him, and we both agreed that we were going to be honest, and they saw a lot of it, a lot of his wound. They saw it, and they were troopers. Our kids are amazing. They're so resilient, and they've been through a lot in their short little lives, and they were just excited to see Daddy, that he was alive. And he still couldn't talk at the time, but they sat in his lap, and they were kind of confused. At that time we had a 3, 4, and a 7-year-old, I think. And so they were very young, and I think they were just excited to see that Daddy was okay, alive, but they were still pretty concerned. And they'll every now and then, especially the youngest, will bring it up. Daddy, you remember when you couldn't talk in the hospital, but we came to see you? And he's 6, almost 7 now, so.
So you guys had only been married at this point for 6 months?
6 months, yes.
What kind of an impact did this have on your marriage?
At first, very negative, because at 6 months, you're still getting to know each other. There's so many things you're trying to figure out. We were also a blended family, so we're trying to make sure our kids, blend well too. And, he was dealing with something so incredibly difficult on his own. I was dealing with something incredibly difficult on my part, trying to take care of things still, keep everything normal for the kids, and but yet still be there for him. I was changing his bandages at home. I was giving him antibiotic shots. I was, but I wanted to. It was never that. It was more of it affected it negatively in the sense that we didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to handle it on my end, and he didn't know how to handle it on his end, and we pushed each other away in a lot of ways. And I think it's because I was trying so hard to make him better, and he was like, especially when it comes to the emotional part of it, I wanted him better. And he said, you can't fix that. And I had to really, I had to have a lot of counsel myself, and have people remind me, you can't fix it. You can be there and be supportive, but sometimes you just have to back off.
What message do you hope that other spouses who have gone through this or who unfortunately will have to at some point go through this take away?
The biggest thing I could say, what I've learned, is have your own support system, because without, they're going to be dealing with their own demons and they need help that you can't give them. And you're going to be dealing with your own demons as well. So you have to have your own support system as well. You have to have, I couldn't have done it without my faith, of course, and the people that are around me that had their faith. As Houston mentioned, you kind of borrow some faith at some points because you don't know how to get through the next hour. But the support system, reach out. Don't be ashamed to say, I don't know how to deal with this situation. I don't know how to, I'm obviously doing something wrong, or maybe I'm not doing something wrong, but show me how to do something better or handle something better. But don't be ashamed to say, I don't know how to handle it, and get help.
Guys, this is such an important story for us to all share because it's really the perspective that you don't often hear about. We hear all the time the stories of the challenges of our emergency responders who are wounded in the line of duty, but it's not often that we get to hear the perspective of their significant others. So I hope you guys will all take a minute to hit that share button and to get this message out. Thank you so much for taking the trip out. If you didn't see, Houston has been selected as the Law Enforcement Today Citizen of the Year. So one hell of an honor. But again, if you guys could help us share this story, that would be wonderful. So thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you up and an honor.
Thank you.
God bless America.